Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Outback Gamehouse, Lord of the Rings, Heroes of Middle Earth. This week's episode, we're going to quickly go through our thoughts on the Chapter 1 changes. We obviously went through the changes in the previous episode, but didn't actually have a chance to actually personally experience the changes. We've now had at least two raids to feel our thoughts on it. Chapter 4 preview, we got a blog post earlier today for us in additional information on the Chapter 4 mechanics and how that's going to operate. Also, we've had Lord Balin's Marquee Event. Elrond's going to return, and then a few data mines as well to go over. So let's jump straight into Chapter 1.
Yes.
That was much better experience.
So much. Oh my God. It's actually fun to do now. It's not miserable.
Oh, it's like I'm theory crafting and, chopping and changing my teams, like mix matching and seeing what kind of works best. It's not painful. So you're okay to spend a bit more time just kind of testing things, trialing things.
Yeah.
Because you're not frustrated. Because when you're frustrated, you just want it to be over, right?
Pretty much. I was about to say, I'm still probably spending the same amount of time on it, probably a bit less. But it's not miserable. So, like, I'm actually wanting to, it's by choice. I'm wanting to stay and try all these different strategies and stuff.
Oh,
instead
it's
of like
so
I'm
good.
forced to stay here.
Yeah, I mean, we were worried about the Skull Crusher AoE on the first turn, but we forgot that old mate that gives out the buffs for the crits and stuff. He doesn't do that on the first turn. That comes on his second turn because his first turn he does the bleeds or the burn or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as bad in that sense. And then when you're just dealing with 5 stacks, it's a bit more manageable. Plus, you know what you're getting. If you don't make 5 stacks, you know you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
Um,
and double bomber strat is still very viable as well, which I'm glad about. It's pretty much just rush the bomber, and yeah, it will still get you a lot of points.
yeah. I mean, a lot of teams that can get those quick 5 stacks are doing decently. So RTR is probably the easiest 900k team, I would say. Obviously, the elves are still doing well. In fact, I've started splitting my elves just because they were doing fine. I tried Chapter 4 and they were doing decently there, but
difficulty 4.
Sorry, difficulty 4. I think we switched roles there.
Yeah.
So I tried difficulty 4, but I felt splitting them and getting 2 really good difficulty 3 scores was better than the 1.1 million odd I was getting in difficulty 4. But I mean, there's promise there that once my other teams are built up, I can then move on to difficulty 4 with my Rivendell team.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And push on that. So, the fact that it's just the RNG's taken out is massive in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, in terms of the chapters, Chapter 1's now the best one. Everyone's just loving
easily.
it.
Yeah, it's actually like fun to do. I'm not
like
our raid hasn't started. I'm just like, oh, I gotta do Chapter 1.
Yeah, like personally, my scores have I wouldn't say doubled, but significant increase. And I've seen actually a lot of people whose scores have doubled. In fact, seen a lot of people who had strong, like free to play players who didn't have Rivendell, but they had strong teams other than Rivendell, like Rohan, RTR, and Isengard. That is, posting good scores because they've got them pretty decently built, and can now easily hit that 900k scores with those teams as well. So yeah, it's good to see all around. Me personally, and I think this is split. I know you are leaning towards chapter 3, but I think within the community, it's either chapter 2 or chapter 3 that now is the painful chapters.
Yeah, pain point. I think the only reason that it's not painful for me is because I don't really have a team that can even get close to the second topple yet. I think once I do get to that point, though, it will be pretty frustrating.
Yeah, and I think the way he gets his 25 stacks can sometimes be random. Maybe there is some sort of science to it, but it just feels random. Like I can play it the same way twice, and one time he'll not cleanse or he won't take 4 turns in a row. It just seems a bit odd. Chapter 3 I get, but I also think chapter 3 people need to change their way of thinking.
100%.
It's really different to how you would target your gameplay in any other sort of turn-based game, right? Like,
honestly, yeah.
It's all about sharing. In my opinion, it's all about sharing that marked and the capture.
Yeah, capture
thing, and then obviously cleansing as well on top of that.
Yeah.
So characters that taunt or provoke, for instance, I just don't use them. Like when you normally play in any other game mode, the first chance you can get, you'd be taunting or provoking with those characters.
Yeah.
But in this, I find in chapter 3, it's more beneficial to hold off, let someone else get the stacks, and then when they're about to get critical, then you're like, okay, I'll taunt now.
Yeah.
And take the focus off them. So it's like stuff like that where you got to kind of tweak your game style.
It's really unique in the way that most other game modes in these games are pretty much just rush offense. This is kind of the opposite, where you want to just be really picky about defense, basically. Yeah. I don't know how a better way to explain that.
No, I get it. It's all about sustaining, and kind of taking as many turns as you can, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't mind chapter 3. I just gotta, sometimes I go in and I'm on auto kind of play in my head. I'm like, wait, no, I gotta hold off on Sam's taunt, or I gotta do certain things.
And even the like team comps that you use should be very different, because there's not really any reason to take offensive characters. You more just want to take a lot of defensive characters.
Yeah, that's right. And slow characters as well are pretty useless. The big guys like Ironhide and Brute.
Yeah.
Probably I wouldn't be using at all, just because they're just so slow.
Yeah.
They're rarely going to score points for your team, because it's not about taking as much hits as they can or doing as much damage. It's about taking the turns. So yeah, I've tweaked my teams in certain instances where I've taken out characters that I've used on teams on the first 2 chapters, I've just taken them out because they're just not useful on the third one. Characters like Brute and Ironhide, I don't use at all in chapter 3. Substitute them for someone else. It's good. I like that it's not all about damage and as much as damage as you can do. Something different.
Summoners are also really good because it's just an extra body to take more turns with.
Yeah. Nuraz, I think, is a strong character for that, just because his summon, while slow, will at least survive for a few hits. Plus, Nuraz gives him a bit of a turn meter on spawn anyway, so you usually can get at least 1 turn with that summon.
Definitely.
Whilst we're on chapter experiences, I guess we'll jump straight into chapter 4.
Yes.
We had a teaser kind of introduction probably half a week ago, where they spoke about Balrog and burns and blinds being the main debuffs that he's going to be doing, and stuff like Eagle Eye and Cleanse are going to be useful for that. Then earlier today, they released a bit more information on that. Firstly, October 17th is tentatively the release date for chapter 4. So, that's next week, so not far away. And in terms of, and they gave us a bit more information additional to, the whole bleeds and, burn and blinds in terms of scoring. So scoring, you gain 100 points for every percentage of health lost by Balrog. You gain 500 points for each Bane cleansed or resisted by an ally. So even though they speak about cleanse, resist could come in handy as well. Teams that with high resistance.
Dwarves.
the dwarves.
I'm not sure if that counts for immunity. That I don't know if immunity actually resists it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, I don't. When you have immunity, because when you actually resist, you get this little text pop up that says resist. When you have immunity, I don't believe that text pop up pops up, so maybe it doesn't count. But
I was going to say, Gondor would be very strong here.
Yeah, that's true.
The case,
and then gain 15,000 points for flinching.
I had to do a double take on that the first time I read it. I'm like 15,000.
What did you think it said?
I thought they meant 1,500 or something, not 15,000.
Don't forget, you're only going to do this 3 times.
Yes.
In normal mode, then shadow mode, then his last flame mode.
Yeah.
So all up, you're getting 45,000. I think it's fine, given that it's going to be limited occasions where you're going to get the flinching. Gain 2,500 points when Balrog exits from flame form or shadow form. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty reasonable in that sense. It does sound kind of like Chapter 2 Troll, but on steroids.
Basically.
This is where it gets interesting. So his passive abilities, Creature of Terror, he's immune to stun, blind, burning, bleed, poison.
Makes sense, I guess.
So I just want to say R.I.P. Isengard.
Yeah. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. When this character reaches 1 health, he loses all turn meter, removes all boons and banes from himself, lose 5 stack of flame form or shadow form and gains 1 stack of enrage and becomes flinched. While he's flinched, he's immune to all banes and turn meter removal. He gains 25% turn meter and heals for 25% of this character's max health at the end of any character's turn. So he's, after each of your character's turn, he's getting quicker and he's getting healthier.
Yeah.
So after 4 characters, he gains 100% turn meter, obviously, and he returns to normal form. He's also got the Creature of Shadow, where on evade he gains 3 stacks of shadow form and 20% turn meter. When he reaches 20 stacks of shadow form, he gains 100% turn meter. On his turn, when he gains that 20 stacks, he heals himself for 30% and immediately uses Blackout to transform into shadow form. And then he consumes all stacks of shadow form and 5 stacks of flame form on himself. When he's in shadow form, though, there's new abilities available. They are silent on those new abilities, so we'll have to see. But he's immune to banes, so that's additional to the banes he's already immune previously.
Now he's just immune to everything.
Now he's just immune. Like when I read the first bit, I was like, oh, you know, Haradrim might be okay because the Black Serpent poison will at least land because that's not listed there. They're poison that, you know, Old Mate does, that won't land, but that's fine. If they can get the Black Serpent poison, you know, that's going to assist in some instances. But then when he goes into these forms, he's immune to that as well.
Yeah.
By the way that I read that.
Yeah. it sounds very painful.
And then in flame form, so Creature of Flame, when an enemy takes damage from burning, he gains 2 stacks of flame form and 10% turn meter. When he gains 20% of flame form, he gains 100% turn meter. And then at 20 stacks, he heals himself for 30%, immediately uses Infernal Ignition and transforms into flame form. He consumes all stacks of flame form and 5 stacks of shadow form. Again, he gains new abilities in flame form. And then if he has no stacks of incinerate, he transforms into normal form.
Yeah.
So
that seems to be like his DPS mode, which it makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. So in normal form, his basic attacks target enemy for 200% damage, inflict burning for 2 turns. If the target already had burning, he gains 25% turn meter. He ignores taunt and provoke.
Fun.
His first special, attack all enemies for 190% damage and inflict burning and expose for 2 turns. It can't be evaded. And he also gains 2 stacks of flame form.
I find this part really funny.
The second special.
Yeah.
The Sightless Dread, he dispels 2 boons from all enemies, inflicts blind for 1 turn on 3 random enemies, and it can't be evaded.
Oh, I love it. He's like, here, have some evasion. Here, no, on top of that, have blind.
Shadow Assault, attack the target for 340% damage, inflict disrupted and disable for 1 turn, inflict blind for 2 turns, remove one stamina from each of the target's abilities and reduce their turn meter by 50%, and he gains 5 stacks of shadow form. So in normal form, he's doing both, you know, flame and shadow moves, and he'll gain stacks of either, depending on the ability. And that sounds disgusting as is.
It
And
really
he goes
does.
then if he goes into shadow form, his basic smoke strike attacks target enemy for 340%, dispel one boon. If the target has shadow beckons, inflict blind for one turn, and it can't be evaded. His first special blackout, dispel one boon from all enemies, inflict one stack of shadow beckons on each enemy that doesn't have a boon. Gain 10% turn meter for each enemy that was inflicted with shadow beckons by that attack. Gain 2 stacks of counter attack. Can't be evaded. So he uses this upon entering, apparently. So this is his. So when he goes into shadow form, he just uses this. So GG. Embrace darkness. Attack the target enemy for 17,000% damage.
Bro just gives you the middle finger and you just die.
Well, I think it's literally one.
Yeah, it's a
one
one
hit
shot.
kid.
Yeah.
The target has shadow beckons instead deal a fatal blow.
Because there's so much difference between the two.
Transform into normal form. This can't be evaded. So shadow beckons is a status that he does in that form where affected characters will receive a fatal blow if targeted by embrace darkness, when in reality I think they're fatally blowing even without that status.
Yeah.
In flame form, his infernal ignition attacks all enemies for 160% damage, gain 12 stacks of incinerate. Can't be counterattacked, and he will use that on entry of flame form. So massive AoE, massive stacks of incinerate. His Hellfire again attacks all enemies for 200% damage, inflict burning for one turn, and he'll consume one stack of incinerate. So incinerate empowers abilities on him. Each hit will remove one stack. So flame form's a massive, disgusting AoE form, and then shadow form is a disgusting one-shot kill
Pretty much
form. So I don't know. It's
as hard as this sounds. I'm so glad that it will be, because it's a Balrog. Like, it needs to be hard.
Yeah. I mean, you can see how Balin is going to be, his kit's made for this. He's got the eagle eye that he gives out, so the blinds hopefully shouldn't matter. He's also got the cleansers as well.
Yep.
It's just, is it going to be enough? He's going to need a lot of cleansing. Luckily, the basic cleansers. But Balin alone isn't going to be the solution here. Like, you can put Balin with elves that you got currently, and he'll give out Eagle Eye for them, and that'll be useful. But I think the key is going to be definitely this stuff that's going to be on the Sylvan Brothers. That's going to assist Balin as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe, because there's maybe not. I was going to say maybe the tank Sylvan Brother has some sort of like stacks of death proof. So when he gains a fatal blow, he doesn't actually die. But fatal blow could also go through all the death proofs. I forgot what it's called in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, considering the fatal blow mechanic is only on Balin, as we know, where if the two brothers are alive, Balin will still be alive, at least for one fatal blow.
And that's if it lands on him.
And that's if it lands on him. So maybe they throw a taunt or a provoke on Balin.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. It'll be the toughest chapter of the raid, and as you said, it should be. It's
the grand finale.
And it's Balrog. You don't want him to be an easier form of the troll. He's meant to be, super tough. But what I can see is it's gonna have a very high initial entry, super tough. But then as we grow, as we get glyphs, I think this will start. You'll start doing better on this, and it'll be interesting to see which teams do well. Obviously, Rangers potentially because they got the eagle eye on that.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of cleansers as well out there. So
I think Gandalf will be a big key to it.
Oh, you would think so. Balin, obviously, they've set him up, but this raid is all about Gandalf, right?
Yeah.
Like we're earning shards for Gandalf. If he's not the answer for this raid, then that's a worry. But we spoke about it before where you look at each of his abilities and it kind of has an answer for each of the chapter kind of thing. So, I mean, I think Gandalf will be awesome for this whole raid, not just this chapter.
Yeah. I was going to say, it would be good if we could stun the Balrog with Gandalf, but no, that's just not a thing now. He's just immune to stuns.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This reads like a World of Warcraft raid boss.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited, but at the same time,
I'm scared.
I'm also, preparing mentally for the pain that's going to be coming.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Speaking of Balin, we obviously also had Balin since the last podcast. Balin's been in the game, his Marquee Event, and I've tried him out on Chapter 3. I quite like him actually. I haven't built him up fully yet. He's kind of like that intermediate kind of level 40. 3s and 4s, and I've been using him on an elf, Legolas, Lumion, Gimli.
I think Bifur as well, Bifur.
Yeah. So like an elf dwarf mix, and that's he's made for that. Really, he gives you that flexibility. And he does well. The cleansers on both his basic and his second special are very handy.
Yeah.
So I like him. And I could see him being very good when built as well.
I haven't used him in raid yet, but I've got him slightly built up. I take the Marquee to about level 30 or 40-ish. So I could probably use him in like difficulty 1 or something and try him out.
Yeah. Even if I don't use a character, I just try them out, see how they feel.
Yeah.
And then just don't submit the attack.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing about these raids, where you can just test things out. He's a good character. And even if you don't go after the Sylvan Brothers, I think there's a lot of plug and play value for him where you can use him as a leader for a mismatch elf dwarf team.
Or even just another dwarf, because you don't have to use him with his lead. Yeah.
I mean, like Bifur's got a decent lead as well, and in some instances having Bifur's lead is great for his might and stuff like that. And then you've got Balin giving out the cleansers. which that team kind of misses as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You're right. You can use him on a dwarf team very well as well. So yeah, there's plenty of uses for him. So I do recommend Balin, even if you're not going to chase the others. Legendary characters, Elrond is returning.
Yes.
So we have a date for that, which is November 1st, and it will run to November 8th. Both Arwen and Elodin's marquee events are now back, and people can reattempt those. Arwen's got a chest. Elodin should be coming in a few hours after reset. They're actually at a discounted price than what they were on
marquee
release.
Chest,
yeah. So like the chest on release was 1,000 gems, and you get a roll. Now it's 750, and I believe the drops are actually slightly higher as well.
Yes, I think so. Very slightly.
Yeah. So it's actually a pretty good option if you're trying to chase and you're willing to spend the gems. A pretty good option to make quick shards on those two characters, which is good.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if they do it for any of the other elves or what they do for that. My gut feeling is they might just do a combined chest where they have Lomian, Naramiri, Elrahir, Leliel.
Yeah, maybe.
All in a combined chest. I doubt they'll do individual chests for those characters.
I'm trying to think if they have that in Star Wars. I don't quite remember. They probably do. Yeah, I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. I mean, we're still got more than 2 weeks before Elrond returns.
Yes,
but I mean, it gives. I think I was working on the basis that he might return on October 18th, which is when Elodin's marquee event will end.
Yeah.
So we've got an extra 2 weeks, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I don't technically really 3 if you want to count it to the end of the day.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you just need to get it before he goes, so technically 3. And I'm happy with that. It means I don't have to core as much. Actually, I don't think I need to core anymore. I can just go one farm a day.
Yeah.
And I'll get there. I know a lot of people were disgruntled by that. A lot of like the dolphins that were heavy refreshing, trying to get Elodin and Arwen done in time. But to be honest, I get it. I get that. But in a wider community perspective, I think it's good that they're doing this, giving it a bit extra time. And also, I did that. I refreshed hard, but I don't regret it because both characters are part of my main team in Arena and in Raid. So I'm seeing, benefits of it from getting them done quicker anyway. So it's not like I quickly leveled useless characters and they're just sitting on the bench. That maybe I'd be a bit annoyed by, but both these characters are meta, part of the meta. So there's no harm in getting them finished earlier. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And it's just better to be safe than sorry as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what if it was October 18th, at least you're done. I don't get that when people get annoyed. It was their choice as well. Legendaries, though. Obviously, in the AMA, they spoke about a legendary that's coming out of the Hobbit.
Yes.
And we spoke about that in the previous episode. We mentioned Azog. But the more I think about it, I'm I'm leaning towards Old Mate.
Yes. He's just creepily standing there.
I have a sneaky feeling it's him.
Yeah, there is more and more evidence that is suggesting that.
I mean, we're in like we had all this elves and stuff like that. I feel like we're in the age of dwarves now. Like we've got uh, two dwarf marquees that have been in. We've got a dwarf in the daily objectives. We've got a dwarf on the calendar.
Yep.
We got a bunch of dwarves in the weekly store now.
Guild farm.
Guild farm. It feels like we're leaning towards Thorin, and maybe we'll get him plus two others to go with Philly and Killy.
Yeah. To be honest, you could even just have Fro and Balin as well, and just kind of have Gimli for the Fellowship, or
Yeah.
vice versa, have Gimli for Thorin's expedition, and yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Personally, I would like to see a Shadow legendary.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not just because the first legendary was a light side with Elrond. It's just, I think we need some sort of Shadow offset. We had Haradrim that kind of snuck in there, but all in all, it's been heavy light side farming in comparison to Shadow.
Definitely, yeah.
And yeah,
I have a feeling that once they're going to be done, I have a feeling that this one's going to be light, and then it's going to kind of shift to Shadow.
Yeah. And that's my feeling as well. I think we're going to get a light next towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Possibly this guy. I think next year is going to be the year of Shadow.
Yeah.
I think.
Or at least like the first couple of months, yeah.
Well, this leads to one of the data mines, actually. So we'll just quickly touch base on the initial data mine of Halloween. So there was a few chests there, no character type chests. They were all kind of resource based chests, so gems, gold, but they all had like a Halloween kind of theme to them. So we're probably going to get some offers during Halloween for different resources. Is the way I read those data mines. But obviously we'll have to wait and see. The other data mine, which is mostly old stuff, but I think there was a couple of new things in there for the team. The one thing that caught my eye was the Blade of North. What's his name?
The Black Beast.
Black Beast. So the tank. His event in the data mine. When you look at it, it's pretty much exactly the same as Sam's event. So you got when you go into Sam's event, you've got the three circles or four circles, I can't remember, where you can, start the different star level chapters within Sam's event. And then when you go into them, you got the squares with the kind of aged brown background to it. It's pretty much the same background on this Nazgul guy. The only difference is the images in those circles or the squares are more Nazgul orientated.
Yeah.
So my thoughts are we're going to get one of the Nazguls in a similar kind of Sam style event. And I wonder whether it's going to need, the Nazgul team, similar to how Sam needed Road to Rivendell as an unlock. Interestingly, I believe it was the AMA where Nick Reinhardt mentioned that, I can't remember if it was someone else, that they want to do the Nazguls differently, where they want to give each Nazgul a kind of time in the spotlight,
Yeah.
so to speak. I mean, because they're the old king of men's, right? So
Yeah.
um, the way I see it is next year maybe, and I know it's different in Star Wars, but in MSF we had Age of Apocalypse, where each quarter, or maybe a bit less, you had each of the horsemen, and you kind of collect them, and you use them to then unlock Big Boy Apocalypse, you know? And I wonder if it's kind of similar to that, where we'll have a Nazgul in the first kind of few months of next year, and then another one, and then another one, and then Black Beast at the end, potentially, and then obviously, what's it? The White King.
The Witch King.
Witch King, sorry.
Yeah.
Witch King as, you know, the big legendary kind of character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm not sure, because they said that if they were going to do another event like Sam, that they would retune it to make it faster.
And I think that was, from how I read it, that's in regards to how long it takes general players to get to 7 stars or 6 stars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I still feel they'll probably go down the same path of hopefully using the same team to unlock that character.
Yeah. I think what might happen is we get 3 marquees for the Black Beast event, and then the Black Beast you technically get for free, but you need all the other previous marquees at like 5-star. So yeah, you've got to pay for them to get to 5-star. And I don't know who a 5th would be to unlock the Witch King. I mean, they could do another Nazgul, but yeah, I'm just not really sure. I'm not really sure how it would work.
Yeah, I think it's a bit on the fence, purely because the Witch King is a legendary, and he's obviously the 5th for the team.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do Witch King just as a simple kind of legendary. He's Gandalf the White tier, you know?
Yeah.
So that whole team and how that's going to be released is going to be interesting, especially with the Black Beast potential release method and how that all works. Yeah, it'll be. Yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe it is another team that unlocks him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, who knows? They did something kind of similar in Galaxy of Heroes, where the Inquisitors, the way you got the Grand Inquisitor, you needed obviously 5 Inquisitors to do his event. And once you got the Grand Inquisitor, you kind of just benched one of the Inquisitors. And then eventually you got also Raver from the Kenobi show. And yeah, that just turned that whole team into one of, I think, the best team in the game at the time. So they could do something like that.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. Each one had a leadership, like each individual Inquisitor had their own leadership. And it was a very like, I'm going against this team, so I'll use this leader. I'm going against this team, so I'll use this leader instead. Stuff like that. But eventually, once you got Grand Inquisitor, it was kind of just like, yeah, just use Grand Inquisitor because he just had the best one. So it could be something like that. Who knows?
I mean, there's 9 of them, right?
Yes.
So yeah, they could easily release 5 and then one gets dumped.
Mm. It could also be like it could also be just like as you said, like a long-term thing where get one get one every couple of months type of thing, and then it builds up to the Witch King. I think that would probably be the coolest, but also I think I'm not really sure. It would leave the team in a weird spot because you'd only have like 1 and then eventually 2 and then eventually 3 for extended periods of time. So it wouldn't really like make a full team until really you got the Witch King.
Well, this is why I was leaning towards when they mentioned they're going to give each one a time in the spotlight kind of thing. What I'm imagining is, they're all 9 kings of the past from different areas, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they have a few months where um they have a team from that region that they were from, kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe.
So
Yeah.
and when we go talk about Black Beast, maybe there's a region that he's from that unlocks him, and he slots into that team, and you can use him for that team. And then once Witch King arrives, then it's like Nazgul's assemble,
Yeah.
and they all
Yes.
unite.
Yes. Oh god, it's like Power Rangers. Oh, that'd be amazing. Just like goth Power Rangers.
I mean, in the Dynamines, we had 2 attackers. I believe the East.
The Blade of the East, the Southern Shadow, and the Black Beast, I believe.
Well,
Oh no, the Black
no,
Beast was a take.
Black Beast was a tank. South was actually the support from memory.
Yes, I can never remember the other attacker. Oh my god. It's so annoying. Oh, the guy with the daggers. I can picture him, but I don't know his name.
I'm gonna get a random ping in the middle of the night, and it'll just be you.
Probably.
When it finally comes to you. Yeah, I can't. To be honest, I can't remember either. If that's any consolation. Yeah, Shadow of the East. I mean, he was the second main one after Witch King, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, can't be that important.
It drive me insane.
You always forget the daggers guy, though.
I every time without fail. Who we should ask is Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy or Cam. No.
That would know straight away. Oh god.
Anyway, I trying to think. I think that's everything we wanted to kind of cover this episode, unless there was something missing other than the dagger boy.
I don't think so. I think that's about it.
Yeah. Well, maybe next episode we'll reveal the name of the other Nazgul with the daggers.
You watch, I'll find it during the week, and then we'll forget next episode.
You pin it, otherwise you will forget it.
I'll have to. Oh my god.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Maybe if you guys do know the name of the other Nazgul, please leave it in the comments or message one of us. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will catch you guys next time.